Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Listen with Vobes. I nearly forgot what it was I was doing. Welcome again to another reading of Neighbourhood by Tickner Edwards. Hopefully today I will be able to read it a little more coherently than we did on Friday. Had a weekend to recover. Hope you're all doing well. It's been another beautiful sunny day down here in Sussex, and I hope it's been reasonable and warm where you are. It gets a little chilly in the evening, but nothing like it was. Although everyone keeps telling me, don't get used to it, we've got snow coming, which is a bit of a shame. So hello to the lovely Julia out there, to Turbo Stream, to Holly and Co, who says it's dry here now, but grey clouds are whizzing overhead. John F., hello to you. Billabong O'Neill, Justine Jones, Stephen Montville, good afternoon to you, sir. And Philip Hammond and Mary, good afternoon to you. And it looks like Billabong and I are unlucky with cold cloud. Oh dear, I'm sorry about that. We've had lovely sunshine. I believe it's going to be sunshine tomorrow, and then it's going to be miserable. Hello on St. David's Day from David. Is it? Now, if you hear any noises, I don't know what my neighbour's doing to their house, but they're either doing the floorboards or doing something to the walls, but they've had machines going all day, which is very irritating. Good job I didn't need to record anything at home. Although I'm doing my live, of course, which is, and we'll have the Vobe show later, so I should do it extra loud. Anyway, here we are, ready to do another reading. Hope you're all well, just waiting for any stragglers to come along before we do start. Excuse me, little bit of a yawn. I've been out in another wood with another video, which is now uploaded and will be out obviously tomorrow. It's been edited and put together. I'd be interested to know, I had Mr. Sean James Cameron ring me up earlier and said that he'd been chatting to somebody from YouTube, and he said their policy is now to put adverts, regardless of whether you're in the program to receive money from it or not, all through YouTube videos. I think the thing they're trying to do is to get everybody to buy into their Prime or premium service, so you pay a monthly subscription and you don't have any adverts. So I think what they're doing is just trying to be as bloody annoying as possible, so that people get fed up, because there is ad blockers that you can put. A Turbo Stream says, noisy neighbours, how dare they? Don't they know there's a Vobes live? I know. It's an outrageous. Here we are. Lee Lawson has arrived. 1601 hours. I think we'll make a start and others will drift in as and when required. So if you remember last time, we were still in March. Oh, no, we weren't. We were in April. Beg your pardon. We were in April, which is effectively, I suppose, chapter 4. Dudley Sawyer's arrived. Good afternoon, everyone. It's sunny and warm here on the south coast. Yes. We're very lucky. It's very nice. I just feel sorry for any hedgehogs or dormice or bats who are coming out of hibernation, because everyone's told me there is snow coming and I would hate them to freeze to death or not have enough food. So let's hope that they are snoozing through this. Can you actually hear noises off, by the way? Do let me know. I'd be fascinated to know if you can hear it. If they come through suddenly, I'll let you know. Afternoon all, looking forward to the book. So here we go. We are carrying on in April, where we left off. I've always wanted to know, do you get more money if we click on the advert? I don't think it makes a blind bit of difference, to be honest with you, if you actually click on. I have no idea how it works, really. I don't take the adverts too serious. Oh, you can hear it. Sounds like they're sanding the floorboards. Yeah. If they put some carpet down, it'd be a lot quieter. Yeah, just. All right, okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. Obviously, I can't knock on their door and say, do you mind? Anyway, here we go. If I let the plain, honest truth about the day which has just ended... I've already cocked it up. Do you mind? I'm going to blame it all on my neighbours. If I tell... Oh, no, that was right. If I tell the plain, honest truth about the day which has just ended and call it a day of adventure and excitement from its first grey gleam to its tranquil golden close, I am not sure that there are many who will understand me, save the one who shared it with me almost hour by hour. For nothing really happened on this day, as the world estimates events. Over an obscure Sussex village, a mid-April sun shone out of a cloudless sky. A bit like today, then. Certain migrant birds arrived in the neighbourhood. Certain wild flowers and insects were observed for the first time. There was nothing more. No wandering stranger appeared in our street to bring us all our doors. What? Our doors? To bring us to our doors. No big gun practice was going on 30 miles away at Portsmouth, raging our blue sky with incongruous thunder, nor did even the gilt arrow on the church clock slip an hour at midday, as it often does, and send us scurrying home to dinner before the time. To all, save two in Windlecombe, the day was just an ordinary working weekday. But to these it was no less a day than the one in which the year comes suddenly into its full young prime. For me it began when the grey eastern sky took its first tint of morning rose. There is no sweeter sound than the song of the house martins, and this is what that roused me now. In the darkness they had come straight to their nesting site under the eaves, and now they filled the room with their quaint, voluble melody, and wove a mazy pattern against the sky as they circled to and fro. While I dressed, I watched them dipping and cycling in the sunny air, and peering out through the window now and again, I could see them all along under the eaves, clinging to the rough bricks of the wall where they had left their mud houses last October. But of these, none remained, not to break down the martin's nests in the early spring, before the sparrows begin to stuff them with grass, is to prepare for the little black and white voyagers' war instead of welcome. And they seemed quite as happy and content if, returning, they found nothing but a clay mark on the wall. Later, by an hour at most, I had the Reverend by the arm, not so much to guide as to restrain him, for he went ever a little before me through the meadow with the sure swift stride of a mountain goat. There was but one thing that could portray his affliction to a close observer. While I went blinking into the intolerable glory of the sunshine above us, and the scarce lesser glory of the buttercups below, he strode onward, his calm old face turned straight up to the sun, his blue eyes meeting it unflinchingly from under their shaggy arches of white. He might be Gabriel looking into the very faces of heaven, I thought, as I stole a glance at him a little fearsomely. Indeed, I never quite limited his vision to that of his poor, purblind human eyes. "It will be down in the little birch clump near the Conyers," he said. "That's where the first nightingale always comes. It'll take us a good 5 minutes, and why are you not talking to me? Come, do not keep all the brave, beautiful things to yourself." How to tell him of all the things I saw in that single yard of meadow about us? But I got to work with the will if not the power. "We are walking," I said, "through buttercups a foot high, and almost with every step we send a cloud of little blue and copper butterflies chevying before us. Listen to the grasshoppers piping. The buttercups make a sort of thick scum of gold, as on the surface of a green lake. Down below, like pebbles, on the lake bottom, lie the daisies. Their white discs touch each other in all directions. Nay, they overlap. They are heaped upon one another. An insect might claw over them from side to side of the great meadow and never tread on anything but daisy white. And the dandelions, there are millions of them, I think, filling the air with perfume like choice old wine. And smell these, Reverend. Do you know what they are? Cowslips. They must be in full bloom now. They were always fine cowslips in this field. But you should pull them, never pick them. Then you get all their beauty, the crimson at the base of the stem, and hark! From an oak-clad hillside to the northward, clear and slow on the gentle air, came the cuckoo's double chime. The old vicar faced about and took off his hat ceremoniously. I did the like, and it was no superstitious greeting of the bird on its first appearance. It was no superstitious greeting of the bird on its first appearance. We were not thinking even of the ancient Sussex legend that an old witch goes to Heathfield Fair every 14th day of April with all the year's cuckoos in her bag, and there lets them fly. On our part, it was purely a precautionary measure against a very ancient rustic pheasantry. Farmer Coles of Windlecombe loved his joke, and that was Farmer Coles's wood. Though we had no real doubt that we were listening to the first cuckoo, it was well to be on the safe side. The path now left the full fairway of the meadow and meandered along by the edge of the wood. I was bidden to go on with my chronicle. The bluebells are out, as thick as ever I saw them, Reverend. Under the shadow of the trees they look like purple smoke stealing up the hillside. And where a bar of sunshine pierces through, the colours seem to leap into the dim air like a tongue of flame. How the rabbits play! Every moment they break cover and dart across open spaces, 2 and 3 together. There goes a spotted woodpecker. I saw his black and white coat and crimson plume as he swung through the bar of light. They're scarce here. Here comes something flitting along I wish you could see. You know how the orange tip. The butterfly with its wings on fire. Don't grizzle over me, man. I can see it, lazily looping along, though you'd think he would fall to earth a cinder at any moment at your feet. He is like Nero, fiddling, I always think. There must be a chervil growing... Chevil? There must be a chervil growing close by. Yes, a great bank of it, and the butterfly has gone. Well, he's only settling there. Look how the mottled green and white on the... I don't know who's talking now. Well, he's only settling there. Look how the mottled green and white on the underside of his wings, now that he's closed them, exactly match the colour of the chervil. All his fire is quenched until you disturb him, and then off he goes, burning himself up unconcernedly as ever. We rounded the corner of the wood and came upon a little open stretch of heathland. The sulky sweet fragrance of the gorse so loaded the air as to make one's breath come hard. Over the gorse linnets sang their slender tweeting melody. The blossom-laden bushes spread away before us like great heaving waves of gold, flowing up to the hill brow and over out of sight. When the crests of yellow bloom stood against the sky, they made the sky a deeper blue. But between the gorse brakes, the heather showed no sign. It crouched low upon the earth, looking black and dreary and dead, as though a forest fire had lately swept by. "Dead?" cried the Reverend scornfully. "Turn up a frond of it and look at the underside of the leaves. Each leaf is black above, but see how green and sappy and full of life it really is, if you look at it aright. One misses a lot in life by taking a lofty standpoint. The heather in April may be black to you, but it is green enough to the hiding mice." We went along in silence for a minute or two. "And what about the trees?" he asked presently. "Is it death or life there? The cuckoo will never wait for his green leaves, you know." "Green leaves I see, but leafage nowhere. All the woodtop is checkered into different clear zones of green or grey or russet or soft sad yellow buds bursting and leaves just promising everywhere, but leaves as I want them, none. How slow it all is. I can understand the cuckoo's impatience, flying all the way from Africa, only to find—" He had ceased to listen. He had turned swiftly towards the sun-baked meadows. He put up a thin hand, blue-veined, almost transparent, against the light. He visibly stared. "I heard the throb of a wing. A new sound. It must be— Yes, there it is. The first swallow, wheeling and darting over the buttercups yonder like a bit of bright blue tempered steel." As I uttered the words, there drifted out of the thorn hedge hard by us the note that we had come to seek. All the ringing music of the woodland seemed to grow mute at the sound. Wild and pure, with a force of lingering sweetness indescribable, the nightingale's song poured out of the thicket, dwelling upon the one silver clarion note, moment after moment, as though it would never cease. At my side, two gaunt arms rose trembling into the sunshine. "There they are! They're all here!" The voice was husky and faltering. All! I've heard them again, every one of them. The good God be praised, though I never hoped to. Yes, one by one I bade them all a long farewell last year." I'm just going to see what Linda Kane says. The Conyers is a wooded area near Wepham. I'm still sure the book is based on Burpham. And Lee says, when he had walked through the buttercups, the poet Wilfred Owen wrote that they had blessed his boots with gold. Andrew Norris is there. He says, just made it, Vobesters. Be glad to be with you all this beautiful afternoon. Fantastic. Well done. I think they've stopped doing the noises off at the moment. Maybe they're all tuning in. BBC Radio Caroline. This is the Vobes. Oh. Down in the village, when I left it this morning, hardly a breath was stirring under the warm April sun, but the wind is never still for more than an hour or two here on the top of Windle Hill. At first, it was only a gentle wayward air out of the blue southwest, but already the wind is freshening as the sun lifts, and with the growing heat it is sure to strengthen. Midday may find half a gale singing in the long grasses, but around me the gold tassels of the cowslips lashing to and fro in the grip of a madcap breeze. To get the true spirit of the Sussex Downs, you must become a lover of the wind, loving it in all its moods. There are rare moments, even on Windle Hill, when the sun glows in a halcyon sky and the blue air about you lies as still and as silent as a sheltered woodland mere. But this is not true downland weather. A calm day in the valleys may stand for tranquillity and be well enough, but here it savours rather of stagnation. The very life of the Downs is in their flowing, ever-changing atmosphere, the sweet, pure current coming to you unwinnowed over a visible course of 20 miles. When the wind is still, it is good to keep to the lowlands under the green canopies of whispering leaves, within the sound of their purling undertone of brooks, for the valley has its own companionable voices of earth, even under silent skies. But the Downs are as a strung harp that will yield no music save to the touch of the one gargantuan prayer. Their very essence of life is in the careering air. You must learn to love the wind for its own sake, or you will never come to be a true Sussex Highlander, to know what the magic is that brings Sussex men, meeting by chance in some far-off nook of the world, to talk first of all the Downs, when, in the stifling heat of a tropic night or by the northern campfires, pipes are aglow and the tired hearts wistfully homing. Out of the blue west sky comes the gentle wind, bringing with it the colour of the skies to every dell and shady woodland track in the far-spreading vista. Violet-hued, the lazy cloud shadows creep over the hills, or travel the lowland country to the south, dimming the green of the blunting corn and the rich brown of the new tilth, with their own soft, scrumbling azure. Where the village lies, far below at the foot of the hill, the elm tops seem full of green. But this is only the scale of the bygone blossom. It will all fall to earth in tiny emerald discs, each with its crimson centre, before the true abiding green of the leaf appears. In the cottage gardens, looking from the heights like patchwork in a quilt, the cherry trees make snow-white wreaths and posies. The lane that leads to the hill is flanked with ancient blackthorn hedges, whiter yet. Blackthorn and sloe, and bright festoons of marsh marigold, weaving a dwindling pattern over the low brook country beyond, where the grey-blue thread of the Arun River winds in and out on its long journey toward the sea. And, far beyond all, glistens the sea itself, one vivid streak of blue, incredibly high in the heaven, a long broad band as though made with a single sweep of a brush charged with pure sapphire and fretted here and there with a few scarce, dragging, crumbling touches of gold. Swallows go by overhead in the sun-steeped air, chattering pleasantly. Every bush and branch, it would seem, below in the coombe must have its singer, for how else to account for such a bewildering, dim babble of song? All the larks in the world, you would think, must congregate in the blue region above the hilltop, and to be giving back to the sun a dozen grey trills for every beam he squanders down below. While there is daylight, there will be this incessant lark song here on the green pinnacle of the wind-washed hill. With the first light of dawn, the merry round began. It would hardly cease with the last red glimmer of the Highland evening, when, an hour before, the leaf-shrouded coombe has grown silent in the blackness of night. The stars will hear the last of it, just as they will hear it again, its earliest music, before they are quenched by the white of morrow. And if a drab, forbidding sky lowers on everything, or the rain clouds wrap the hills about with mists of water, still the larks will sing. Nothing daunts the little grey Highland minstrel, so that there be light enough to guide him upward, he will soar and sing, carrying his music indifferently up into the glory of this perfect April morning, or the gloom of the winter torrent and whistling winter blast. Human fret and worry have a habit of keeping to the lowlands, as all lovers of the downs know well. You cannot climb the hilltop and bring with you all the care that burdened your footsteps down in the dusty shadow-locked vale. Somehow or other, every stride upward over the springy turf seems to lighten the load, and once on the summit, you seem to have lifted head and shoulders above the strife. The hurrying mountain freshet of a breeze singing in your ears and the rippling lark music have washed your heart clean of all but gladness, and you will see with awakened eyes. You have soared with the lark, and now must needs sing with him. You cannot help looking over and onward, as he does, at the brightness that is always pressing hard on the heels of human worry and care. It is the great wide expanses in nature that have the most effect on the hearts and lives of men. The sea has its own intrinsic influence, but it is too fraught with echoes of old wrath and unreasoned violence, overpast yet still remembered even in its quietest moods. You cannot forget its grim levy on human lives, and the stout ships beaten to splinters uselessly. The Leviathan lies. I can't read that word. Why can't I read that word? The Leviathan, I don't know. The Leviathan lies crooning inert under the hot April noon, all lazy benevolent greatness. God, this is such a tongue twister at times. Yet you owe it to many bitter grudges rightfully, and see the silken treachery lurking deep down in its placid depths. But the story of the Downs is a long tale of harmless good. They have no record of strife and disaster. Their tale of the ages is a whole philosophy of life without its terrors. Nature's great good gift to world-worn souls, the bringing of calm into human life, with calm's inherent far-seeing, reason working through worry towards hope and trust for the best. The blithe spring day wears on. The sun lifts higher and higher, and the blue tree shadows that span the village down at the foot of the hill have shrunk to half their former length. With the ripe heat of the midday, the wind has freshened to a surging, roistering gale, but its rough touch is full of kindly warmth and jollity. The cloud shadows that, in the sterner mood of the morning, crept so stealthily over the hill and dale, now stride from peak to peak in a wild chevy chase after the sunbeams, leaping the valley in their path and filling them with rollicking grey and gold. The sky, with its griddle of white cloud, has come strangely near, and the downs have risen suddenly to meet it. You seem buoyed up on an ever-lifting tide of green hills that rock and sway as the broad bars of sun and shadow drive onward under the goad of the breeze. It is all sheer exultation, the changing light and the song of the gale and the lark's unceasing challenge above you. Now, of all times, you must learn how good a thing it is to be out and about on these Sussex highlands, washed in the sun and the rain and the pure salt breath of the sea. Fudge cakes. That takes us up to May. Let's just have a break for a moment. Yes, that's it. Leviathan, says Julia. Leviathan. Leviathan, is it? Leviathan. What does it mean? Linda, there are references that suggest he was living in the Bertham before World War One. Leviathan. Excuse typos. Linda's done it anyway. Oh yeah. What is it? Oh, sorry. My eyes. I've managed to focus and keep the eyes steady, as you could hear, pretty much. Now I can't focus over on the screen on the other side. Random fact, Brunel's SS Great Eastern was to have been called Leatherfan, however it's pronounced, originally. Leather, how are you doing it? Leviathan. Lavathon. Leviathan. Leviathan. Is that it? Leviathan? What does it mean? Leviathan. Oh, it's hilarious, isn't it? It's hilarious. I ought to just get, Google to tell me. Leviathan, whatever it is. Anyway, I don't know what it means. What does it mean? Again, Leviathan. Leviathan. Is that it? Leviathan? What does it rhyme with? It means large, essentially, if memory serves me right. It's huge, a whale. Leviathan. Leviathan. Leviathan? As in Levi jeans. Leviathan. Leviathan. Got it. Never heard it before. Never heard that word before. You see, there's a lot of words I don't know. A large creature of the deep. Oh, I see. It's a creature. Leviathan. Levi jeans. Levi. See, it does. I've sent you a WhatsApp message. Oh, I put my phone on charge in the other room, I'm afraid. Leviathan. Leviathan. As in leave. Gaveston. I thought it had something to do with water. There we go. Well, no, I say we're not all hyper intelligent. Right, May, ladies and gentlemen. May I continue? Sometimes, for days together, a whole week perhaps, I may never set foot outside the area of the village. These are generally times when the tide of work runs high and one must keep steadily pulling to make any real headway against it. There are days, and nights too, of necessarily close and constant application, varied, however, by odd half hours of quiet loafing hither and thither about the village, delicious moments pilfered recklessly from the eternal grindstone of the study, to be remembered for their pipes smoked and their talks with old acquaintances at corner streets after the labour which sweetened them has passed, maybe fruitlessly away. So it has happened this last week, during which the season had journeyed out of April into May. At one time or other in the chain of busy hours, I have renewed acquaintance with all my favourite bits of old Windlecombe and the personalities from which they are inseparable. Getting out into the sunshine, I usually find my first steps turning, first of all, towards the smithy. It stands just behind the Clemmer's cottage, its yawning black doorway wreathed about with elder branches, full of white blossom and deep green spray, reminding one of the foliage in one old painting, which looks as if it were compounded in indigo and gamboge. I never knew a smith who could beat out such an ear-assuaging music from his anvil as young Tom Clemmer. If you hear it in passing, you're bound to turn aside and stand for a while looking at the door and fall a-dreaming under the spell of its quiet melody. But standing out there with the sun across your eyes, you can see nothing at first, save a splutter of red spot of fire, and hear nothing but the chime of the hammer and anvil, to which the gruff, wheezy bellows add a sort of complaining undertone. When you catch sight of young Tom Clemmer, it is to make him out as one of great height, immensely broad in the shoulder and lean of hip, a peg-top figure of a man. Through the smoke and flying sparks, he shows you a black face with a pair of grey eyes, deep-set, glittering, mirthful, and a great head covered with crisp flaxen curls. He is of the old South Saxon blood, through and through. But at the wheelwright's yard, a little farther along the green, you are confronted with quite a different breed of Sussex peasant. The drays are thick-set, of middle height, and dark, almost swarthy of feature. Up in the churchyard you come upon the two names at every step. You read Clemmer, Dray and Clemmer, everywhere amidst the moss-grown stones, in varying degrees of illegibility back for hundreds of years. The two families are by far the oldest in Windlecombe. You note that the Clemmers were nearly always Thomases, and the Drays, for the most part, Daniels, while the female of both races were, and still are, either Marthas or Janes. Looking over the ranks of this silent company, it is impossible to think of any member of the former clan as other than long-limbed, grey-eyed and fair, and a Dray, even though he were a serf under Harold, was not dark of glance and visage, who was not... Sorry, let me just read that again. And a Dray, even though he were a serf under Harold, who was not dark of glance and visage, would be an anomaly unthinkable. Would be an anomaly unthinkable. Glad we got that sorted out. Young Daniel now, as you pass by and see him bending to and fro over his craven of a saw pit, with the red elm dust spurting up like fountains in the sunshine between his gated legs, must be the very counterpart of the Dray who, doubtless, fought at Hastings, or him of older times who, daubed in blue war paint, might have watched with wrath and wonder from his seaside ambush of the first Phoenician gallery that came a-venturing after Cornish tin. When it rains, though work and the house have for the nonce become alike intolerable, I have several havens wherein I can be sure of finding that quiet anchorage that the moment needs. The little sweetstuff shop is foremost among them. Over the long, low window, with its curious lattice panes of bull's-eye glass, there runs a legend, in one uniform character, and without stop and break: Berlin's walls, toys, Susan Angel, all kinds of sweets. And within, at her fireside, behind the little counter, sits Miss Angel, always busy knitting and always ready for a chat. I reserve Miss Angel and her flute-like underflow of small talk for moments of placidity. But at unruly seasons of mind, I go to the cobbler's den, and getting my elbows upon the half-door, look in upon him, often without a spoken word on either side, for 10 minutes at a stretch. It is dark in there, with a penetrating smell of tanned leather, wonderfully soothing in certain states of the nerves. My own taciturnity is real enough at these times, but that of the cobbler, a garrulous old soul by nature, is usually forced upon him by circumstances. His mouth seems to be permanently full of brass tacks, which come automatically through his closed lips, one by one, and almost miraculously head first, to be ready with his quick left hand when they need them. With his right hand he keeps up an incessant monotonous tattoo on the boot between his knees. And to watch him shining brass pins flowing from his mouth into symmetrical rows on the leather is pure balm for the eyes tired of staring at paper and ink. I know the cobbler means to talk directly he has finished his mouthful. Oh, I see. I know the cobbler means to talk directly. It means to talk directly he has finished his mouthful. Now and again he looks up with premonitory gleams of politics or ground bait in his eye, or worse still, with that slow double wink, which I know presages a story ancient even in his great-grandfather's time. So I watch the flow of the braids, and when I judge the supply to be nearly exhausted, I generally execute a stealthy retreat. Bloody cheek. Dudley Sawyer says, Richard, you've passed your reading aloud exam. Oh, good. I hope I've passed it with flying colours. There we go. Leviathan, whatever it was, would have been an appropriate name for Brunel's boat. It was 6 times bigger than any other built before. Not Lev, as in... Well, I thought it was Levy, as in Levi's. Levi's. Leviathan, is it? Consider your rash smartly smacked. Okay, takes a village to read this sometime. Yeah, it's telling me. Audrey says, my grandfather was a cobbler. Remember the pieces of leather with the shape of the soles cut out and the iron lasts and the buffing machine. The parlour of the Three Thatches Inn is, I know of old, an unrivalled place for rejuvenation of a jaded faith in the reality of life at times of idleness and dismal weather. It is not the talk of the landlord behind the bar, talk at once serenely simple and shrewdly worldly wise, nor the unending volley of song from the 3 canaries, each in its crinoline-like cage overhead, nor even the quality of the liquor that draws me to this cosy, sawdust-carpeted, crimson-curtained nook. It is the furniture of the bar itself, all that stands upon the shelves and hangs upon the old wainscoted walls, that attracts me to these odd, unemployable moments. A collection of articles never to be got together, I think, in less than 4 generations of like-minded men. All the woodwork is of oak, planted, grown, and felled, no doubt, within an arrow flight of the village. On the walls of the parlour hang various framed and coloured prints, disreputable by tradition, yet so embrowned with varnish as to be long ago relegated into harmless indecipherability. There is a picture of a bird of dubious species, from whose own beak issue the words, "As a bird is known by his song, so is a man by his conversation." Opposite the door, where all entering must immediately observe it, hangs another picture, this time of a dog, lying upon its back with all 4 legs rigidly pointing upward, and a very long red tongue lolling out of its mouth, and underneath the inscription, "Poor Trust is dead. Bad pay killed him." Behind the bar, the walls are lined with shelves, backed up by scrolled-looking glass, wherein all the treasures that crowd before it have their blurred and distorted counterparts. On the uppermost shelves, hard against the smoke-blackened ceiling, stand rows of pewter pots, kept scrupulously clean and bright, but never taken down for use within living memory. Below these is a regiment of cut glass bottles in different rich colours, quaintly fluted, each with a gilt vine leaf upon it, and between the bottles stand inverted wine glasses, every one upon a little mat of gaudy wool, and balancing a lemon upon its upturned foot. Other shelves are taken with Toby jugs, curious old snuff boxes and tobacco jars, row and row upon earthenware mugs, ringed with brown and blue and stamped with a mysterious ornament like black seaweed. There are 3 large wooden kegs with brass taps, marked respectively with the letters OT, JR and CB. The local peasantry has it that these are needed to store the special liquor of 3 devoted patrons of the inn. The ferryman and Bleak, the cobbler, reject the insinuation with contumely. I don't know what that is. COMTUMELY. Contumely. But OT, as I have the best of all reasons for knowing, regards it as a compliment of subtle hue. Whatever. But perhaps the most fascinating item in the whole collection is a certain ancient puzzle mug of blue crockery ware with a suspiciously heavy handle and an elaborately perforated lip. A stranger is invited to drink from this, but, by reason of the open lattice work all round the rim, it appears an impossible feat. The trick is, however, easy when one knows the secret. The handle of the cup is hollow and communicates with the interior of its lowest extremity. By setting the mouth to a small hole in the handle top, the liquor can be slowly sucked through. It is being the day of the fortnightly market at Stavisham. It being the day of the fortnightly market at Stavisham and the weather fair, Runridge and I took a little green punt from its moorings that afternoon and set out to explore the long black reach. The reach is just a winding side alley of the river, overgrown with willows and reeds, a mere crevice of glimmering water hiding itself in the heart of the wood. Coming into it from the dazzling sunshine of the main river, it strikes at first almost chill and gloomy, for it is an afternoon in May. But this is only an illusion that soon passes. After a minute or two, you get its quiet keynote. The green dusk becomes deliciously tempered sunlight, the cool air something finer and more delicate than the sun-scorched breath of the open riverway. Runridge pulls a long, clean stroke and dips his oar blades with a perfect rhythm. He is silent company, as far as words go, but he has an eloquence of look and gesture which more than takes the place of speech, and there is something about his mute system of comradeship that irresistibly impels itself on others. With his tanned, wrinkled face sedately smiling under the brim of his battered old felt hat, and his thoughtful eyes forever roaming over the landscape, you feel that the ordinary human method of conveying ideas by sounds is somewhat out of place in the little green wherry. Over and over again today, when a scarce bird or uncommon flower showed itself on the river-bank, I would direct his notice thither, and found myself insensibly adopting this silent way of a waved hand or an inclination of the head, when in other company my tongue would have been set a-going on the instant with less sufficing words. Out on the broad waterway, the tide was still running up, and here in the long black reach the drift of the current was hardly perceptible. The old ferryman had laid by his oars, and now sat filling an ancient pipe with tobacco that looked like chips of ebony. As for me, I lay back in the boat, head pillowed on clasped hands, dimly recalling a dream I'd had ages and ages back of a world without green leaves or nightingales, a weirdly impossible world of nipping frost and firesides, of a sob of the winter wind and the dreary drudge of the winter rain. The reeds stood high on either hand. Above the yellow reeds with their nodding mauve-grey plumes, and below the fresh green growth, wherein the weed warblers would soon be building, a living emerald thronging up amidst the old dead stems. Over the solid rampart of the reeds the willows reached down, trailing their ferny branches in the water, and beyond these, the great forest trees hemmed us in, oak and elm and beech, in two vast cliffs of verdure, towering above us and interlocking their laden boughs against the far blue sky. The little sugar scoop of a boat drifted on. Everywhere around us the martins were skimming over the clear water, clattering as they went. The seeding willows sent down tiny flecks of white that hovered and dwelt in the dim air, like snowflakes. And from the beaches overhead there was a constant rain of light, fine atoms, the discarded sheaths of the leaf buds that fell upon the river and gathered into all the little nooks and bays among the reeds like pale dun foam. Somewhere in the far distance a cuckoo sang. Runridge took his pipe from his mouth and gave it a rocking motion. Never a word he said, but his thought passed to me just as if he'd spoken it. A seesaw melody it was, and will be until the hay is down. There were willow wrens singing far above in the treetops. A chaffinch went looping by with his soft broken note. To count the nightingales that we heard as the boat stemmed onward were almost to count the white-budded hawthorns that shone To count the nightingales that we heard as the boat stemmed onward were almost to count the white-budded hawthorns that shone out through every gap in the reeds. And now the old ferryman put out an oar and turned the little craft towards the bank, where a great willow tree drooped half across the stream. The boat prow clove its way into the heart of this leafy shelter, and we came to rest. The pipe went up warmingly. In the dense reed thicket, hard by, there was a new Maytide song. I'm going to have to leave it because we're ticking on now. Oh, wait a minute. I've got a page and a half. So let's just do that and then we come to the end bit. Of all the utterances of wild birds, perhaps none attains to a human-like quality more nearly than that of the sedge warbler. It's not so much a song as a continuous complaint, and that of a characteristic feminine kind. Going to be trouble for that. To me, the little sedge bird, restlessly flitting from stem to stem through the waving jungle of reeds and singing as she goes, inevitably suggests a type of dutiful, laborious womanhood, all affection and unselfishness, but ever ready alike with sharp words and an aggressive tearfulness that disarms as completely as it maddens. And the sweetness, the occasional sudden bright abandon of the song, only serves to strengthen the comparison. You can picture the bird stopping in the midst of her most fretful, self-commiserate strain, bravely to estimate her compensations. The sun shines, the nest is well built and furnished, the larder easy to fill. Material good is unlacking, and then the singer goes on, hopelessly under again. Now the song is nothing but sweet, lachrymose, expostulation, lachrymose, whatever the hell that is. Now the song is nothing but sweet lachrymose, expostulation, voiced grief all the I'm now reading just the words. Voiced grief all the intolerable for the tunelessness of epic melodious woe. No idea, can't get that sentence in my head. Turning over in mind this fantasy about the sedge bird as we lingered under the willow bower, I found the old ferryman looking at me with a strangely reminiscent eye. It flashed across me that long ago, when all days were as good as the market days to us, that I had put before him just these thoughts and received his silent, amused concurrence in them. Then there had been no chance of inconvenient application, but now I sat bolt upright and looked closer at him. I was beaten at this talk of eyes. I harked back to the old safe path with which I was familiar. He had turned away now and did not revert his glance through though my hand was on his arms. Why did you do it, Runridge? I blurted out, almost as forlornly as the sedge bird. You never minded living alone. You were happy enough, and I... He was looking at me straightly. He was looking at me straightly enough now. Do it? His breath whistled in through his set teeth. Do it, did you say? I do it? Never. I did it herself. Kind of mesmerised I were. Never rightly knowed as 'twere done till we're all over. But there it is, the book, and there's no getting over it now. Ah, well. Pertly nearly time we were snorkling home along. Beat it. Get tired women folk could kettle for a welcome, and 'tis trouble without end. And there we come to an end. He speaks. I wish he hadn't. I'm sorry about that one line. I had absolutely no idea. Lacrimorse. David is crying. I'm sorry about that. There is a short video recently put out on the V&A website showing a puzzle jig being made. Very skillful. Tearful. Lacrimorse. Well, there we go. Anyway, that was today's little effort. Thank you very much for joining me. Clearly, I was just my eyes were just getting a bit tired at the end there, staring at these words. But we got through pretty well, so that's not so bad. Thank you so much for joining me today. Back again tomorrow. And let's carry on with this incredibly poetic book. Can't think of the word. I mean, I wish I could pluck those words that he uses. I wonder how long it took him to write. It's absolutely amazing, but I just wish I could do it more justice. We'll look for a nice, simple, easy book for the next one, if you don't mind, with not quite so many tongue twisters in it, and we'll go from there. But anyway, we are a third in, so plenty to go. Anyway, there we go. Listen to Julia's message. Oh, yes, I will. Thank you very much for that. Take care, one and all, and I've got to get ready now, light the fire, cook my dinner, get the answer a whole load of emails that are coming, and get ready for the Vobes show. So I will see you on. Take care, have a good rest of the afternoon, and ta-ta for now. Hard to believe, only a month or so ago, it was pitch black when we used to finish, and now it's nice and light. Till next time, bye-bye.